The cavernous training hall of the Intergalactic Academy buzzed with an electric energy, a living testament to the diverse beings that roamed its vast corridors. This was a place where the lines between species blurred, and today, the focus was on two audacious humans, Ryan and Emily, who had become a point of fascination for many of their alien classmates. As the gravity levels surged in the training chamber, Ryan and Emily pushed their bodies to the limits. Sweat glistened on their foreheads as they executed a series of grueling exercises designed to test endurance and strength in this artificially enhanced environment. The air hummed with the sound of their exertion, punctuated by the occasional clang of weights dropping onto the padded floor. "Come on, Em. Just one more," Ryan shouted, his voice strained but filled with encouragement. Emily, her muscles burning, gritted her teeth and summoned every ounce of willpower to complete another rep of her squat. "Ugh, you're insane, Ryan. I think I might actually explode," she gasped, collapsing onto the floor in a fit of laughter, despite the fatigue that clung to her limbs. Their laughter echoed through the hall, but not everyone found their antics amusing. A small group of alien students, huddled together in a distant corner, observed the humans with a mix of admiration and disapproval. Zorak, a member of a symbiotic species, watched intently, his thoughts a whirlpool of confusion. "Do they not understand the dangers?" Zorak murmured to Lyra, a fellow student with vibrant swirling patterns across her skin that shifted in color based on her emotions. "They risk not only their lives but the integrity of our training environment." Lyra's large expressive eyes remained fixed on Ryan and Emily as they pushed each other further, their competitive spirit clearly evident. "But isn't that what makes them interesting?" she replied, a hint of curiosity in her voice. "Their fearlessness is unlike anything we've seen before. It's as if they embody freedom." Zorak frowned, torn between his duty to protect his own kind and his fascination with the humans. "Freedom can be a limitation, Lyra. They may not see it, but they are flirting with danger. Our traditions are there to keep us safe, to preserve our culture." Lyra pondered his words, but her gaze remained locked on the duo. The way they interacted, their laughter, their willingness to embrace risk, it stirred something deep within her, a yearning for the kind of liberation they displayed. Ryan, sensing a presence, turned his head towards the group and flashed them a confident grin. "Hey, you guys should join us. It's more fun than just standing around." The alien students exchanged wary glances, unsure of how to respond. Zorak felt a flicker of irritation at the invitation, convinced that the humans were only making things worse. "See," he said, lowering his voice to a near whisper. "They don't even consider the consequences. They draw others into their reckless behavior." As the humans resumed their training, Lyra felt a stirring in her chest. She wanted to feel that same exhilaration, to break free from the chains of expectation that bound her to her culture. But the fear of judgment held her back, and she remained rooted to the spot, a spectator in her own life. "Why do you hesitate, Lyra?" Zorak asked, sensing her internal struggle. "Do you wish to be like them?" "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But there's something about their spirit that calls to me. It's as if they've found a way to transcend their limits." Zorak studied her, recognizing the battle within his friend. "Be careful, Lyra. The path they tread is littered with dangers. Our duty is to uphold our ways, not to abandon them for the sake of thrill." But as Lyra continued to watch Ryan and Emily challenge themselves, her heart raced with the thrill of possibility. In that moment, she felt the stirrings of something new, something that could lead her beyond the confines of her upbringing. The question loomed large in her mind. Was it time to embrace the unknown? In the vast training arena of the Intergalactic Academy, the air was thick with tension and anticipation. Ryan and Emily had just completed another grueling session of extreme training under increased gravity, their faces flushed with exertion. The clanking of alien machinery and soft whispers of their extraterrestrial peers surrounded them like a symphony of skepticism and awe. As they caught their breath, Lyra, an alien student with shimmering scales and bright, inquisitive eyes, watched from a distance. A flicker of admiration danced within her, igniting a longing for the freedom that Ryan and Emily seemed to embody. "Why do they push themselves so hard?" one of Lyra's classmates murmured, their voice barely above a whisper, but loud enough for Lyra to hear. "It's reckless. They could endanger themselves and the rest of us." Lyra's gaze drifted back to Ryan, who was now playfully sparring with Emily, their laughter echoing against the steel walls of the training hall. Beneath the surface of her initial skepticism lay an undeniable pull, an urge to break free from the constraints of her own culture, which often emphasized caution and tradition over risk-taking. As the session ended, Lyra felt a sudden surge of courage. She approached Ryan, heart racing, her thoughts swirling. "Ryan," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "can I ask you something?" Ryan turned to her, his expression brightening. "Of course. What's on your mind?" I've been watching you and Emily," she hesitated, searching for the right words. "I want to know how you find the courage to defy the traditions of your people. It's something I've been struggling with." Ryan's grin widened as he leaned against a nearby training post, his arms crossed over his chest. "It's not about courage, really. It's about pushing the boundaries of what we think we can do. There's so much more to life than just following the rules. You've got to experience everything, embrace the risks." He paused, searching Lyra's eyes for understanding. "What's holding you back?" Lyra's heart raced. "My people value stability and safety above all else. I'm expected to follow the path laid out for me, but I feel trapped. I want to break free, like you do." "Then do it." Ryan encouraged, his voice enthusiastic. "Start small, experiment with your limits. You might surprise yourself. Just remember, it's okay to stumble along the way. That's how you grow." Lyra nodded, absorbing his words. "But what if I fail? What if I let everyone down?" Ryan shrugged, a carefree smile on his face. "Failure is part of the process. It's how you learn. If you're never willing to take a risk, you'll never know what you're capable of." He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Trust me, on Earth, we fail all the time. It's just a stepping stone to greatness." As they spoke, Vrax, observing the interaction from the shadows, felt a deepening sense of unease. The way Ryan spoke to Lyra seemed to him an insidious influence, a dangerous idea spreading through the academy like wildfire. Vrax's brow furrowed with determination as he resolved to take action against what he perceived as the reckless behavior of the humans. Meanwhile, Lyra felt emboldened by Ryan's encouragement. "I'll try," she declared, a newfound determination glimmering in her eyes. "I'll find a way to explore my limits." "Great!" Ryan exclaimed, clapping his hands together. "Let me know if you need any help. We're all in this together." As Lyra walked away, a mixture of excitement and trepidation filled her heart. She could feel the weight of her culture pressing down on her, but Ryan's words had ignited a spark of hope. It was a small step, but a step nonetheless, toward embracing the unknown that lay beyond her comfort zone. Little did they know, Vrax was already plotting his next move, convinced that the human influence must be curtailed before it spread further. The stage was set for a confrontation that would challenge everything they had come to believe about courage, risk, and the true meaning of strength. In the dimly lit corner of a vast training hall, Vrax gathered a group of his peers, each one a member of his species, tall, slender beings with luminescent skin that shifted colors based on their emotions. The air was thick with tension as Vrax paced in front of them, a determined glint in his eyes. He had been watching Ryan and Emily closely, their audacious training sessions sparking both admiration and ire among the alien students. "Look at them," Vrax said, his voice low but sharp. "Those reckless humans think they can redefine our traditions, our boundaries. They flaunt their defiance, and we let them. This must end." He gestured dramatically towards the training area, where Ryan was currently performing gravity-defying flips, drawing gasps of awe from some, but equally, murmurs of disapproval from others. "What do you propose, Vrax?" asked Tila, a skeptical member of the group, her violet eyes narrowing. "Do you think a challenge will deter them? They thrive on this adrenaline." Vrax turned to her, his expression steely. "No, Tila. We must show them that their behavior has consequences. A challenge, yes, but one that will test their limits in a way they never anticipated. It has to be dangerous, something to make them think twice." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group, although some exchanged hesitant glances. Zorak, the symbiotic alien who had been quietly observing, felt a knot in his stomach. He had always believed that collaboration was the key to progress, even among species as different as theirs. But as he listened to Vrax, he felt a tug-of-war between his loyalty to his friend and his responsibility to his kind. What if they get hurt? Zorak finally spoke up, breaking the tension. "We cannot forget that they are still our classmates. Shouldn't we find a way to integrate rather than eliminate?" Vrax shot him a look of disdain. This isn't about friendship, Zorak. It's about preserving our way of life. If we let them continue unchecked, what will become of our culture? We risk losing everything. He could see the uncertainty in the eyes of his peers. We challenge them tomorrow, he declared, his voice booming. A competition that tests not only their physical capabilities, but their mental endurance. Let's see if they can survive in an environment that is as foreign to them as their actions are to us. The others nodded, some reluctantly, but the allure of the challenge was undeniable. Vrax's words stirred something primal within them, a need to protect their identity from what they viewed as a threat. As the group dispersed, Zorak lingered behind, his mind racing. He would have to act, to understand Vrax's true intentions. He had seen the admiration that Ryan and Emily inspired, but he also recognized the fear that their actions invoked. He could not allow a spectacle of hostility to unfold without knowing its implications. The next day, Zorak waited in the shadows of the training arena, watching as Vrax's plan began to unfold. He approached Vrax under the guise of casual conversation. I'm curious about the challenge. What exactly do you intend to put them through? Vrax crossed his arms, a smug smile creeping onto his face. You'll see, Zorak. It's time for them to experience the true meaning of strength. They've been coddled long enough. Zorak felt a chill run down his spine. This isn't just a test of strength. It's a risk. You're playing with their lives. Vrax shrugged, his expression hardening. Life is full of risks. They need to learn that if they want to belong amongst us, they must be willing to sacrifice. Besides, if they can't handle it, do they really deserve to be here? The weight of Vrax's words hung in the air, pressing down on Zorak. He was torn. Should he intervene, or should he let the challenge play out? As he watched Vrax rally the other aliens, a sense of foreboding settled in his chest. The challenge ahead would not only test the humans but would also reveal deep-seated fears and divisions within their own ranks. The stage was set for a confrontation that would echo through the academy, and Zorak knew he had to find a way to navigate the impending storm. The day of the challenge arrived, and the atmosphere in the academy was charged with excitement and tension. Alien students gathered in the vast training arena, their vibrant colors shimmering under the artificial lights, each species displaying unique features that reflected their origins. Ryan and Emily stood at the center of the arena, their expressions a mix of determination and apprehension. They were acutely aware that they were under the watchful gaze of their alien peers, many of whom had openly questioned their audacity in pushing the limits of physical and mental endurance. As the announcer, a tall serpentine alien with iridescent scales, called for silence, the crowd hushed, anticipation hanging in the air. Welcome, esteemed students of the Intergalactic Academy. Today, we witness a test of might, resilience, and spirit. Our brave competitors, Ryan and Emily, will face a series of challenges designed to push them beyond their limits. The crowd erupted into applause, but not all the claps were full of encouragement. There were murmurs of doubt and concern echoing through the stands. Emily turned to Ryan, her blue eyes sparkling with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Are you ready for this? She asked, tightening her grip on the straps of her gear. Ryan nodded, his jaw set in determination. We've trained for this, Em. We can show them what humans are capable of. We just need to stay focused. Just then Lyra, the alien student with shimmering silver skin, approached them, her expression conflicted. I've decided to join you. I want to prove that I can be as brave as you are, she declared, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. Ryan raised an eyebrow, surprised but pleased. That's the spirit. Just remember, it's not just about strength. It's about strategy and knowing when to push yourself and when to hold back. Lyra nodded, her resolve strengthening. I want to break free from the traditions that bind me. I want to feel the thrill of the unknown, like you do. The announcer continued, detailing the first challenge, a treacherous obstacle course filled with laser beams, moving platforms, and pits of a viscous substance that could ensnare the unwary. The competitors would need to navigate through it while maintaining their speed and agility. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, go. With a burst of adrenaline, Ryan, Emily, and Lyra launched themselves into the course. The sound of their footsteps echoed as they dashed forward, dodging the first wave of lasers. Ryan led the way, his movements fluid and precise. Emily followed closely, her heart racing with excitement. Lyra, though initially hesitant, found her rhythm, her instincts kicking in as she mimicked Ryan's agile movements. "Watch out for the platform," Emily shouted, pointing ahead as a section began to retract. They adjusted their pace, leaping just in time to avoid being caught. As they pressed on, the challenges intensified. Ryan and Emily encouraged Lyra, their voices merging in a chorus of motivation. "You can do it, Lyra. Just trust yourself," Ryan called, as Lyra hesitated before a particularly tricky jump. I'm scared," Lyra admitted, her voice trembling. "Fear is just part of it. Embrace it," Emily urged, her eyes locked on Lyra's. "Just do what feels right." In that moment, Lyra felt a surge of courage. She took a deep breath, focused on the jump, and propelled herself forward, landing deftly on the next platform. A grin spread across her face, and she flashed a triumphant look at her human companions. But the cheers of the crowd quickly turned to gasps as the next challenge loomed ahead, a series of spinning blades. Ryan and Emily exchanged nervous glances, the realization dawning that this obstacle was more dangerous than they had anticipated. "Stay low and time your movements," Ryan instructed, as they prepared to tackle the blades. They coordinated their movements, ducking and weaving as they navigated through the perilous maze. Lyra, emboldened by her earlier success, followed closely behind, but her inexperience showed as she misjudged the timing. One of the blades grazed her arm, leaving a shallow but painful cut. "Lyra," Emily cried out, concern etched on her face. "I'm okay," Lyra insisted, though her voice betrayed her discomfort. She pressed forward, determined not to let the injury deter her. As the challenge progressed, the trio found themselves pushing further than they had ever imagined. Each obstacle tested their limits, revealing not just their physical strength, but their mental fortitude as well. They were no longer just competing, they were learning and evolving together, each challenge forging a deeper bond among them. The crowd roared as they approached the final test, but the exhilaration of the moment was tinged with an undercurrent of anxiety. Ryan felt the weight of expectations, not just from the alien students but from himself. Would they succeed in proving that humans could thrive in this diverse universe, or would they fall short, fueling the doubts that surrounded them? The atmosphere was electric as the competition escalated, each challenge designed to push the limits of endurance and resilience. Ryan and Emily stood at the forefront, adrenaline coursing through their veins, a mix of anticipation and dread tightening their muscles. The alien spectators, a diverse assembly of various species, buzzed with excitement, their multicolored eyes gleaming with a curious blend of admiration and fear. The next challenge was a test of balance and agility, requiring participants to traverse a narrow beam suspended high above a pit filled with a viscous, glowing substance. The beam wobbled precariously as Ryan took a deep breath and stepped out. Emily followed, her confidence bolstered by Ryan's steady presence. They moved carefully, but the tension in the air was palpable. Suddenly, as Ryan reached for the next handhold, he lost his footing. "Whoa!" he shouted, flailing his arms as he teetered on the edge. In that split second, a ripple of gasps echoed through the crowd. "Ryan, be careful!" Emily cried, her heart racing as she watched him regain his balance just in time. But her words were drowned out by the roars of excitement and fear from the alien spectators. Among them, Vrax watched with narrowed eyes, his mind racing with thoughts of blame and consequences. As Ryan regained his composure, he glanced down at the pit, feeling the oppressive weight of the spectators' gazes. "I've got this," he reassured Emily with a quick grin, but the uncertainty lingered just beneath the surface of his bravado. The challenge continued, and soon it was Lyra's turn to navigate the beam. She stepped up, her heart pounding in her chest as she remembered Ryan's earlier encouragement. But as she began her traverse, a sudden misstep sent her tumbling off the beam. The crowd gasped in unison, and Ryan's stomach dropped. "Lyra!" he shouted, instinctively leaping forward, but it was too late. She landed in the pit with a splash, the glowing substance enveloping her. The crowd erupted into chaos, some shrieked in horror, while others shouted in excitement, unsure of how to react. Ryan rushed to the edge. "Lyra, are you okay?" he called down, his voice cracking with urgency. Lyra surfaced, sputtering and disoriented, but a sharp pain shot through her leg as she tried to swim. I can't move it," she gasped, panic rising in her voice. The glowing liquid began to bubble ominously around her, and Ryan felt a knot of fear tighten in his chest. "Hold on, we're coming," Emily shouted, already searching for a way to help. But before they could act, Vrax stepped forward, his voice booming over the cacophony. See? This is what happens when you allow humans to influence our traditions. Irresponsibility leads to injury. Ryan's heart raced as he turned to face Vrax. This is not our fault. We were just trying to push ourselves. Push yourselves. Vrax interrupted, his voice dripping with disdain. You put everyone at risk, and now look where we are. This is precisely why we must protect our ways from your reckless behavior. As medics rushed to Lyra's aid, Ryan felt a surge of anger. We're here to learn and evolve. If you can't see that, maybe you're the one who needs to rethink your traditions. The crowd was split, some murmuring in agreement with Ryan, while others echoed Vrax's sentiments. Tension crackled in the air as accusations flew back and forth. Emily clenched her fists, trying to keep calm. This isn't helping anyone. We need to focus on Lyra. But Vrax wasn't finished. Your actions have consequences. This is a lesson you will learn the hard way. You will be held accountable for this injury. He turned to the onlookers. This is proof that our customs exist for a reason. As Lyra was pulled from the pit, her face pale and strained, Ryan felt a heavy weight settle in his chest. He glanced at Emily, who was biting her lip, her eyes wide with worry. We didn't mean for this to happen, he whispered, desperation creeping into his voice. I know, she replied, her voice barely audible above the crowd. But it's too late now. They'll want someone to blame. The academy was now divided, a palpable rift forming as alien students began to take sides. Some rallied behind Ryan and Emily, arguing that their intentions were noble and that learning required risk. Others, led by Vrax, clamored for punishment, convinced that the humans were a threat to their way of life. The tension swirled around them like a storm, and Ryan felt the ground shifting beneath his feet. The challenge, which had begun as an opportunity for growth, was spiraling into chaos, and amidst it all, he realized that their pursuit of strength and evolution might come at a cost far greater than they had anticipated. The atmosphere in the central training arena was thick with tension, a palpable mix of anticipation and unease. The aftermath of the competition's disastrous accident hung heavily over the gathered spectators, both human and alien. As whispers and accusations ricocheted through the crowd, Zorak, the symbiotic alien, stepped forward, determined to bridge the chasm that had formed. Please everyone, let's not allow fear to cloud our judgment, Zorak implored, raising his hands to quiet the murmurs. His voice, resonating with a deep melodic timbre, cut through the chaos. We are all here to learn and to grow together. This incident, tragic as it is, should not define us. Vrax stood off to the side, his expression a mask of contempt. And what would you have us do, Zorak? Embrace recklessness as a virtue? These humans have shown nothing but an utter disregard for our safety. Recklessness. Zorak countered, turning to face Vrax directly. Isn't it reckless to stifle curiosity and growth? Ryan and Emily have pushed boundaries, yes, but isn't that what we should aspire to do? To evolve. Lyra watched from the sidelines, caught in the crossfire of the debate. Her heart raced as she felt the weight of her own internal struggle. She had admired Ryan and Emily's audacity, but the fear of her own culture's traditions kept her rooted in uncertainty. Now, with Zorak standing up for the humans, she felt an urge to voice her thoughts. With courage she didn't know she possessed, Lyra stepped forward, her voice trembling. Zorak is right. Learning does come with risks. If we never take a chance, how can we ever know what we're capable of? The crowd turned to her, some with surprise, others with disdain. Vrax's eyes narrowed. You too, Lyra? Are you willing to risk everything for a misguided sense of adventure? I am willing to risk my comfort for growth, she replied, her voice gaining strength. I've watched Ryan and Emily, and I see their determination to break free from the limitations imposed upon them. I want that for myself, too. We should be inspired by their courage, not fearful of it. Zorak nodded, clearly moved by Lyra's words. It is in our nature to be afraid of what we do not understand, he said, addressing the audience. But perhaps we should ask ourselves, what does it mean to truly be strong? Is it simply the ability to endure, or is it also the willingness to explore the unknown? Lyra felt a rush of warmth from Zorak's support, but she could also sense the rising tide of dissent among her peers. Vrax's sneer deepened. You speak of courage, but what you're advocating is chaos. This competition was meant to challenge us, not to be a playground for human arrogance.
Arroganz.
Ryan's voice cut through the air, and he stepped forward, his expression a mix of frustration and hurt. We didn't come here to undermine anyone. We came to learn and to inspire. Just like you, we are discovering our limits. Sometimes we stumble, yes, but isn't that part of the process? Emily stood beside him, her eyes blazing with conviction. We've all made mistakes, Vrax. Instead of pointing fingers, why not focus on how we can learn from this? We can't grow without taking risks. The crowd murmured, torn between the familiar comfort of tradition and the intoxicating allure of freedom that Ryan and Emily embodied. Zorak took a deep breath, sensing the fragile balance that hung in the air. What we need now is a dialogue, not a division. Let's reflect on this together, as one community. But Vrax was unyielding, his voice dripping with sarcasm.
A dialogu?
Or perhaps a farce. How many more injuries must we endure before we realize that some boundaries should remain in place? As the words hung in the air, Ryan felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He glanced at Emily, who nodded slightly, urging him to speak. Look, I understand the fear. I do. But if we let fear dictate our actions, we'll never truly know what we're capable of. Maybe we need to redefine what it means to be strong together. The arena fell silent, the words resonating with some while others remained skeptical. Lyra felt a surge of hope, emboldened by the conviction of her friends. Perhaps, just perhaps, the path to understanding was through the very risks that had brought them to this moment. As the atmosphere in the grand arena thickened with tension, Vrax stood at the forefront, his luminescent eyes narrowing into slits as he glared at Ryan and Emily. The cheers of the alien spectators echoed around them, but all he could focus on was the simmering anger that churned within. The recent events had spiraled out of control, and he knew that it was time to act decisively. Enough of this madness. Vrax shouted, his voice cutting through the cacophony like a blade. The crowd quieted, turning their attention to him, drawn by the intensity of his presence. You two humans have put us all in danger. This challenge was meant to showcase our strengths, not to expose our weaknesses. Ryan, still catching his breath from the last grueling test, felt the heat of Vrax's accusation settle on him like a weight. We didn't mean for anyone to get hurt, Vrax. We were just trying to push our limits, to learn and grow, he replied, his voice earnest but shaky. Learn and grow. Vrax scoffed, a sneer twisting his features. You think that risking lives is part of your evolution? You are reckless, and your arrogance endangers us all. He turned to the gathered crowd, raising his arms to emphasize his point. We are not like you. We understand the importance of caution. You have disrupted the harmony of our traditions with your impulsiveness. Emily stepped forward, her fists clenched at her sides. You're twisting this, Vrax. We're not trying to destroy your culture. We're trying to show that there can be strength in vulnerability, that we can learn from each other. Her voice rang out, defiant despite the fear gnawing at her insides. You should be more concerned about your own actions, Vrax shot back, his voice dripping with contempt. You have put others at risk, and now we must pay the price for your foolishness. As the crowd murmured, Zorak, the symbiotic alien who had been silently observing from the sidelines, felt a surge of conflict within him. He had always believed in the potential for collaboration and growth, of breaking down barriers between their species. But Vrax's words resonated with a part of him that understood the importance of tradition and caution. Torn between allegiance to his people and admiration for the humans, he stepped forward, addressing Vrax with a steady voice. Vrax, you are right to be concerned, but we must also acknowledge the bravery that Ryan and Emily displayed. It is not only about caution but also about the courage to explore the unknown, Zorak said, his many appendages shifting uneasily.
Vrax shot Zorak an incredulous look. Courage?
Is that what you call their folly? They are reckless children playing with fire, and we have been burned. Perhaps we should be looking at this differently, Zorak continued, drawing the attention of the crowd back to him. The accident was tragic, yes, but it was also a lesson. We must learn from it, not punish those who dared to challenge themselves. Strength can come from vulnerability. Ryan clenched his jaw, appreciating Zorak's defense, but the weight of Vrax's anger loomed over them like a storm cloud. We never wanted anyone to get hurt. If anything, we're willing to take responsibility for what happened, Ryan said, his voice steady. But this is a learning moment for all of us. Responsibility? You think that's enough? Vrax spat, his frustration boiling over. No, you must pay for your actions. The only way to restore order is to disqualify you from this competition. You will not endanger us any longer. Gasps rippled through the crowd at Vrax's declaration. Whispers of dissent began to circulate as Zorak felt a pang of urgency. He had to act before the situation escalated further. Wait, he called out, stepping forward. What if there's another way? What if we... But Vrax cut him off, his voice thunderous. No more delays. The challenge is over for the humans. They have proven themselves unworthy of our respect. With the crowd divided, the air crackled with tension. Some alien spectators nodded in agreement with Vrax, while others appeared conflicted, considering Zorak's perspective. Ryan and Emily exchanged worried glances, the implications of Vrax's words weighing heavily on them. Just then, Zorak stood tall, his multifaceted eyes shining with determination. I have information that could shift our understanding of this entire situation, he announced, his voice rising above the murmurs. It involves the very essence of my species and how we perceive strength and weakness. The crowd fell silent, all eyes now on Zorak, curiosity peaking in their expressions. Ryan and Emily held their breath, hoping that Zorak's revelation could steer them away from the cliff of disaster that Vrax had pushed them toward. The atmosphere in the training arena was charged with tension as Ryan and Emily faced off against Vrax. The once vibrant space, filled with the sounds of cheers and encouragement, had transformed into a battleground of ideologies. Alien spectators murmured among themselves, their eyes darting between the humans and the imposing figure of Vrax, who had risen to confront them, his antennae twitching with indignation. Enough of this reckless competition. Vrax's voice boomed, reverberating against the metallic walls. He stepped closer, his alien features taut with anger. You two have put not only yourselves but everyone at risk. This ends now. Ryan clenched his fists, feeling the heat of the moment. We're not backing down, he replied defiantly, his gaze unwavering. We came here to push boundaries, to show what we can achieve. If you want to talk about risk, it was the challenge that brought us together, not the fear of failure. Emily, standing beside Ryan, felt a surge of determination. We've faced dangers before, Vrax. You act as if we're carelessly endangering lives. We're trying to grow, to evolve. Her voice rose, fueled by passion, and the crowd's murmurs grew louder, some in support, others in dissent. Vrax's expression hardened. Your evolution is a threat to our very existence. The traditions of my people are not mere guidelines, they are our survival. And you too, he gestured sharply. You are a dangerous influence. If you refuse to withdraw from this competition, I will ensure you are disqualified. I will not sit idly by while you jeopardize everything we've built. A ripple of anxiety swept through the audience, but within it, Lyra stood, her heart pounding in her chest. She felt a pull towards Ryan and Emily, admiring their courage but also sensing the weight of Vrax's words. She took a breath, her resolve hardening. Wait, she called, stepping forward, her voice trembling but fierce. This isn't just about tradition or fear. It's about what we can learn from each other. Vrax's gaze shifted to her, a mix of annoyance and curiosity. And what do you propose, Lyra? That we abandon our ways because of the reckless ambitions of two humans? No, she exclaimed, her voice rising above the din. But can't you see? They've shown us a different kind of strength, one that comes from facing challenges head-on, not hiding behind old fears. It's not about abandoning our culture, it's about expanding it. The murmurs in the audience grew louder, with some alien students nodding in agreement while others glared at Lyra, their expressions conflicted. Ryan felt a spark of hope. See, Vrax? It's not just about us. It's about what we can achieve together. You can't deny that this interaction is valuable for all of us. Vrax sneered, crossing his arms over his chest. You're naive. Every act of bravery has consequences, and when those consequences come crashing down, it will be too late to wish for the safety of tradition. He took a step closer to Ryan, his eyes narrowing. You don't understand the fragility of our world. You think you're strong, but strength without wisdom is only chaos. Emily's eyes flashed with defiance. And what is your idea of strength, Vrax? Cowering behind rules that stifle innovation? We're here to learn, to grow, and sometimes that means taking risks. Vrax sneered again, his patience waning. Enough. I'm giving you one last chance. Withdraw from this competition or face the consequences of your recklessness. His voice was icy, cutting through the tumult of emotions swirling around them. Ryan stepped forward, his heart racing, but he could feel the weight of the room bearing down on him. We won't back down, he declared, his voice steady. We believe in what we're doing. We believe in each other. If that's a crime, then so be it. With that, Emily nodded in agreement, her eyes fierce. We stand together, Vrax. We won't let fear dictate our choices. The tension hung thick in the air, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. Vrax's face twisted in frustration, and the crowd held its breath, waiting for the storm to break. Yet, as chaos loomed, it became clear that the real battle was only just beginning. The atmosphere in the Grand Hall of the Intergalactic Academy was charged with tension as students, faculty, and spectators gathered for the highly anticipated trial. The hall, adorned with the flags of various species, echoed with whispers and murmurs that spoke of fear, anger, and uncertainty. At the center, a raised platform had been set up for the trial, where Ryan and Emily stood, their faces a mix of defiance and anxiety. As the proceedings began, the headmaster, a towering figure of authority with shimmering blue skin and multiple eyes, called for order. We are here to determine the responsibilities surrounding the tragic incident during the competition, he announced, his voice resonating throughout the hall. As we proceed, I urge everyone to remain calm and give each individual the chance to speak. First to take the stand was Vrax, his angular features twisted in a grimace of indignation. The humans, he began, his voice sharp and accusative, have shown nothing but recklessness. They led us all into a dangerous situation without regard for anyone's safety. Their actions were irresponsible, and they must face the consequences. A wave of murmurs rippled through the audience, some nodding in agreement, while others looked uncertain. Ryan clenched his fists, his heart racing. He could feel the weight of the room's judgment pressing down on him, but he refused to back down. Next to testify was Lyra, her expression a mix of determination and fear as she stepped forward. I stand in defense of Ryan and Emily, she declared, her voice firm but trembling slightly. Yes, their training methods are extreme, but they teach us the value of pushing our limits. Isn't that what we are meant to do here? To evolve and grow. Evolution. Vrax scoffed, rolling his eyes. You call it evolution, I call it insanity. They've endangered all of us. But Lyra pressed on, undeterred. What is the point of our studies if we do not challenge ourselves? The true essence of learning is understanding the risks involved. We can't allow fear to dictate our growth. What if we all chose to hide behind our traditions? We'd never know the potential within us. As she spoke, the audience was captivated. Some began to murmur in agreement, while others looked uncomfortable. Ryan's heart swelled with admiration for Lyra. She was braver than he had ever realized. Enough. Vrax shouted, slamming his fist on the podium. You're being influenced by their reckless behavior. If you want to be weak, that's your choice, but do not drag the rest of us down with you. Ryan could feel the fire igniting in his chest. He stood up, taking a step toward Vrax. This isn't about weakness or strength, Vrax. It's about learning from our experiences. Yes, we made mistakes, but who hasn't? We all have our fears, and we all have our limits. I learned something valuable from this incident, and I'm willing to accept my part in it. The audience fell silent, contemplating his words. Emily, who had been standing beside him, finally spoke up. We didn't intend for anyone to get hurt. We wanted to push boundaries, yes, but not at the cost of anyone's life. Isn't that what we're all here for? To explore the unknown together. The headmaster interjected, his multiple eyes narrowing as he considered their words. This is a complicated matter. We must weigh the intentions against the consequences. As the trial continued, students from various backgrounds began to voice their opinions. Some sided with Lyra, arguing that progress came from calculated risks, while others echoed Vrax's fears, calling for strict adherence to safety protocols. The tension in the room grew palpable, and Ryan felt a mixture of hope and despair. This was more than just a trial. It was a reflection of their society and its values. As the arguments continued to unfold, Ryan realized that the outcome of this trial could shape not only their futures but the very nature of cooperation between their species. Perhaps, Lyra finally said, her voice rising above the clamor, we need to redefine what it means to be strong. Strength isn't just about avoiding danger, it's about facing it together. If we can't learn from one another, then what's the point of being here? The room fell silent again, her words hanging in the air like a challenge. Ryan could see a flicker of understanding in the eyes of some of the spectators. Maybe, just maybe, they could find common ground amidst the chaos. As atmosphere in the grand hall of the Intergalactic Academy was thick with tension. Students, faculty, and spectators from various species filled the seats, their eyes trained on the central platform where the judgment was about to unfold. Ryan stood at the forefront, his heart pounding. The faces of his peers were a mixture of support and disdain. He felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on him. "Your actions have consequences, Ryan," the head of the academy pronounced, his voice echoing ominously. The alien leader's multiple eyes glinted under the hall's bright lights, casting shadows that danced across the faces of those gathered. "We must consider the safety of all species represented here. You and Emily have put many in danger, and we cannot overlook that." Taking a deep breath, Ryan stepped forward. "I understand the gravity of our actions," he began, his voice steady despite the quaking inside him. "But I believe that true growth requires risks. In our pursuit of excellence, we have sometimes stumbled. We took liberties, yes, but our intentions were never to harm. We wanted to push the boundaries, to explore what we could achieve together." The murmurs in the room grew louder, and Emily, standing beside him, clenched her fists. "We only wanted to inspire others," she interjected, her voice fierce. "What is the point of this academy if we are not allowed to challenge ourselves? We've learned so much from each other, human and alien alike. Isn't that worth something?" Sitting in the front row, Lyra felt her heart race. She had been a witness to their struggles, their triumphs. She knew the truth of their intentions, and she could see the flicker of uncertainty in the eyes of some of the alien students. "I want to speak," she called out, rising from her seat. The hall fell silent, all eyes on her. "I stand with Ryan and Emily. They've shown us that strength isn't just about physical endurance, it's about the willingness to take risks, to learn from our mistakes. We cannot let fear dictate our potential." Vrax, seated across the room, bristled at Lyra's words. "And what of the consequences of those risks?" he retorted, his voice dripping with disdain. "One of our own is gravely injured because of their recklessness. We should not reward such behavior." The murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience, but Zorak, who had been quietly observing, felt compelled to intervene. He stood, his tall, symbiotic form commanding attention. "I must share what I know," he said, his voice calm but firm. "The injury was not solely due to Ryan and Emily's actions. I was present at the time, and my own limitations played a role in what happened." The room buzzed with confusion as Zorak continued. "My species relies on a delicate balance of symbiosis. In that moment of crisis, I hesitated. My connection to my surroundings dulled my reflexes. I could have acted, but I didn't. It was my failure, not just theirs." Zorak's revelation hung in the air, a heavy weight that shifted the perspectives of many present. Ryan's heart raced as he processed Zorak's words. You were not responsible," he said softly, looking at Zorak with a mixture of gratitude and concern. "You did what you could." "Yet the outcome remains," Zorak replied, his expression solemn. "We must ask ourselves what it means to be strong. Is it merely to endure or to learn from each other's strengths and weaknesses? Strength is also found in vulnerability." The head of the academy leaned forward, his expression contemplative. "It seems we have much to reconsider. Perhaps we have focused too much on punishment and not enough on understanding." The tension in the room began to ease, but the specter of the injured alien still loomed large. As the academy deliberated, Ryan felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "Whatever the outcome," he said, his voice breaking slightly, "we must find a way to honor the lessons we've learned. I wish for healing, not just for myself, but for everyone involved." The judgment was finally announced, and the decision resonated through the hall. "Vrax, your attempts to manipulate this situation have not gone unnoticed. You will face consequences for your actions," the head of the academy declared. "Ryan and Emily, while your methods were extreme, your intentions were not malicious. You are to be recognized for your potential to lead change, but you must also commit to working within the boundaries of safety in the future." As the audience murmured in response, a sense of bittersweet relief washed over Ryan and Emily. Yet, their hearts remained heavy. The verdict was a reminder that while their intentions were noble, the cost of progress could be steep. They glanced at one another, a silent acknowledgement of the journey ahead, a journey that would require collaboration, understanding, and a commitment to true evolution amidst the complexities of their diverse intergalactic community. The tragic reality of the injured alien lingered in their minds as the Academy began to disperse, leaving them with the profound weight of loss and the hope for a better future.